Welcome to the What Now podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Powers. Follow along as I figure out how to go from feeling lost and at a crossroads in my life to hopefully, eventually, being found. If you have ever felt like you needed a change or pivoting from your current experience is necessary, but you just don't know how, join me. Wanderers are always welcome. Hello, welcome back to What Now, a podcast for lost and found. This is your host, Amanda. I'm so happy to be here with y'all. It is Monday, October 14th. Y'all know what that means? I'll just tell you. It is our 1-year anniversary for the podcast. What Now was born exactly 1 year ago in October of 2023. I was brave enough or silly enough to decide that I wanted to start a podcast, and I recorded my very first episode. I honestly don't even recognize the girl that's in that video or in that podcast audio. She shared a lot that I don't think she normally would have or would have been brave enough to do a long time ago or ever thought she would ever be able to do, just because my previous job industry is just not, you're not able to do that. You're really not supposed to have much of a public-facing persona, and I think for a long time I had all of those creative ideas about what I thought would be a fun thing to do, just to get outside of myself and get outside of that career to try and, I think, get back to closer to who I am deep down. Not that my life as an analyst wasn't a good life. It turns out that I guess I had more to me than I thought I did and was giving myself credit for. So I thought for this episode we could reflect together on the last year that I've had. So this will be a very informal episode. Not that the rest of them are formal by any means, but I'm just going to read kind of some notes from my phone here and see where we go. Dirkleton, if you join us, you got to be quiet. He's staring out the window at something. Dirks has been very enthralled with squirrels and stuff lately. So we've been doing a lot of squirrel chasing. But quick catch up, I guess, on the last time I was here. So we interviewed our good friend Judah last week. That was a good episode, but long. So I split that up into a 3-parter. So that was released Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week, October 9, 10, and 11 of 2024. I dropped those. And they were great. We talked a lot about Judah's success this year with his bodybuilding endeavors as a professional athlete, his hopes and dreams for what he wants to do in the future, the life he's trying to build for himself, his pursuit of making lifestyle bodybuilding a more popular form of exercise and lifestyle choice for more people, just to make fitness a more manageable, tangible, and realistic thing for the average person. Not everyone is born thinking and knowing that they're going to be a bodybuilder for the rest of their life, or at least a significant portion of their life. And it's a very intense sport to participate in. So I was honored to have him come on and, of course, be his usual goofy, honest, and blunt self. So it was a lot of fun. Definitely go back and listen to those when you have time. They're long episodes, but very genuine to who he is and approachable, because he doesn't just talk about his successes. He also talks about things that didn't go well, and he talks about his post-show anxiety. You know, after you've prepared for weeks or months on end for an intense sport like that, you're building and building and building up your body to grow as best as it can, as much as it can for your particular weight class that you want it to be and your style of performance class. And that's intense on your body and on your time and your relationships. And then you shrink down because you're trying to cut the body fat to reveal everything that you've worked on, and that's tough on your body and your relationships. And then you go into the show, you know, ideally confident and powerful and ready to go because you've practiced, you're posing, and you're very secure and capable. And then after the shows, you're kind of either riding the high or you're taking the L and learning what can be done next season. But then you need to go into recomp, and then you got to kind of like figure out who you are all over again. And being someone that is interested in the lifestyle but has never gone, you know, all the way in, soup to nuts in it, from neck down or whatever. And I can't fully say that I understand it, but I can definitely respect it because it can take a toll on you if you're not careful. And so we talk a little bit about that and like how he combats recovery issues that can come up after a show is over and after your competition season is over and you get back into training mode and maintenance mode. So that was really good. I got to hang out with him and chill. And then let's see. I have to look at my calendar because I'm old. We interviewed Judah, and the rest of that week was interesting. Later in the week, after the episodes were released, Dirks and I, funnily enough, we were at the park, and a dog followed us home. It's the first time we've had a stray, but Dirks met this little female dog, and she looked like some kind of pit bull terrier mix, and she was super cute, but clearly scared and a little anxious about being out in the wild, but very friendly still, and was a little hesitant to like get close to us, but she would kind of play with Dirks and then walk away, play with Dirks and then walk away. And so as I started walking him home, she just kind of slowly started following us on her own. And so I let her come over and I gave her some water, and it was hot out, so I let her in, gave her a little bit of like small amount of food like what he has, and they seem to do okay together. And I tried to see if she has an owner of any kind because she had no collar or tags or anything, and she did end up having a microchip, and her name was Ruby. Super sweet girl. Ruby's microchip though was out of date, so the phone number for the owner was out of service, so there was no way to directly contact the owner. You had to get someone from the Metro Animal Control and Care office to reach out to them because the owners of the microchip, the company that owns the microchip, wasn't able to contact the owner either, so I couldn't do it through that. But I posted her photos everywhere on Facebook groups and Instagram and the Nextdoor app and the Ring app for our neighborhoods, and no responses. Couldn't get anybody to raise their hand to say that it was their dog. By that point, it was late and the drop-off for the animal control was closed, so I couldn't drop her off as a stray. So the next day, I took her to my vet just in case my vet might know who she was, and they did not. And they also tried to they scanned her chip, tried to contact the owner, couldn't get it done. So then they suggested that I take her to the animal control because you're not allowed, in Nashville, you're not allowed to drop off a dog at the Humane Society by itself. You can't claim a stray and leave the dog there. In Nashville, you have to drop the animal off with animal control first. They'll run you through some paperwork, scan the dog, of course, take a photo, post them up on their website as a found dog, put up any information that they can about it, and then again try and contact an owner if an owner does exist. And then after that, since it's claimed as a stray, they can keep the dog for up to 1 week to give the owner time to come and claim the dog. And if the owner doesn't claim the dog, then they will release the dog to the Humane Society. Fingers crossed that Ruby's owner does go and pick her up from the animal control. Because when I dropped her off, they apparently already recognized her. They had seen her before. They had her on file in their system already because apparently she's absconded before. So it's happened. I think that's the right word. We'll say she has been let loose and brought there before. So they have been through this process. So hopefully the owner was able to be contacted and they could pick her up. That was kind of sad because I could tell that Dirks liked having a friend at first, but then as soon as poor little Ruby obviously became very attached to me very quickly because I'm the only one around her that's feeding her and giving her water and stuff, so she wanted to be near me. And Dirks, being the giant mama's boy that he is, was not having it. So I knew that this would not be a long-term solution in my house. Not without me forcing Dirks to wear his shock collar because he was going to be a little bit of a bully and I did not want that to happen. Not worth it when I need to get work done. So all in all, upsetting that she was lost, apparently for at least for a second time, but I think it turned out as good as it could have for the moment, for the time being. So hopefully her owner was able to pick her up. And then Saturday, the 12th, October 12th, we went on a really big walk around the McCabe Park and had breakfast and did some chores, and then I met a new friend for drinks. Had a really great time. We went to this, and it's new to me but not new to Nashville, this bar called Tall Tales. It's a rooftop bar above the Waymore Hotel, Plug City here. If you know, you know. And it was super cute. Had like a garden up top, had pretty good appetizers and like sliders and fun drinks, and I think reasonably priced for a Nashville bar, you know. I had a good time. I would go back. Very cute. And in the elevator, they had schedules for events that go on there. So they have open mic nights, they have movies, they have bands that come up there. So you kind of pick a night of the week and just kind of see what happens. So if you're into stuff like that, it's a great spot out in East Nashville, but still close enough to the Nissan Stadium. So if you were going to cross over for a football game or something, you could. If you were brave, I guess, you felt like walking, but relatively doable and easily accessible for the hotel. So that was fun. That was on the bucket list, and I had not been there yet, and I'm glad that that friend suggested it. But then I met my other friend Morgan for drinks and dinner, and we went to the Maggie Rogers concert together. And I have never seen Maggie Rogers before, but the concert was phenomenal. I had such a great time. She's beautiful, talented. I think one of those artists where they're even better live. Because you know, sometimes you listen to an album and you're blown away by the lyricism and the talent, or you start to have a vision in your mind. The same way when you're reading a book, a really, really good book, you can almost see the characters in your head acting out whatever it is that you're reading. She has an album that feels that way, right? That you're listening to, similar to like, I'm sure what Taylor Swift might feel like to listen to her albums. It feels like that. But when you actually see Maggie Rogers on stage, you're like, oh no, this is cool. This is how she's actually thinking and feeling while she's singing out these songs. They were good. I liked her a lot. I hope that she'll come back to Nashville and I can see her again because it was so much fun. So super shout out to Maggie for killing it and being good, being a great singer. And then super shout out to our friend Morgan for taking us to the concert. And then yeah, got a little sick Sunday and not feeling so great today. Had to go to the little urgent care down the street. I was going to try and go back to the gym, but unfortunately I am sick and the doctor told me that I am probably contagious right now. So don't really want to do anything to irritate myself further and don't want to do anything to accidentally get anybody else sick. So going to a gym where people are touching a bunch of surfaces is probably not in my best interest right now. So I'm not doing it. So here we are, sitting down and chatting with y'all and catching up. So how about it? How about it? How are y'all doing? Let me know. Slide in my DMs. Tell me what's going on. What have you been up to? What have you been listening to lately? Are you liking the show? Is it great? Is it blowing your mind? Is it, moving you to places you never thought you would be moved to emotionally? Or, are you falling asleep? Are you are you listening to other stuff instead? Starting mine and then hopping over to Call Her Daddy or whatever. Ugh, I don't blame you. I get it. She's popping off with her latest guests. But yeah, what are y'all up to? How are y'all doing? How are you staying alive? Are you surviving or thriving right now? Because right now I just kind of feel like I just think I'm surviving, and that's just part of my life right now, and that's it. It's okay. But got some good stuff for you. I'm getting back into more of the creative groove lately. I've written out 5 more episodes, outlines of what I wanted to say, not including this anniversary one. I'm looking forward to, since I guess I need to rest and I may not be in the gym for yet again another week. Or at least working out at my own home and not going publicly. This might be a good time for me to record more. I'm looking forward to that. But here we go. I figured we could talk about, it's been 12 months since I've released the first episode, so I thought we could kind of do a 12 lessons learned in the year. And these might sound duh to you. I thought we could kind of go over them, even if they sound silly. Some of them are straightforward, some of them need a little more explanation, so we'll just kind of go through them one by one, and those will be the things that I talk about today. Let's get into it. Number 1, don't wait so long to start. So I wrote that down because it seems to be a recurring theme when I listen to certain other podcasts, when I ask other people for advice, when I am doing research for my own show, and I'm trying to understand self-loss and transitions and life transitions and coping with certain types of trauma and self-identity and development. And I keep coming across people saying essentially that. Don't wait so long to start. Like, don't put things off tomorrow, what you could do today. Tomorrow is the most dangerous word in your vocabulary. You're never too old to start over, but you're definitely too old to be making the same stupid mistakes over and over again. Things like that. So it's a common theme that has come up a lot in the last year, where I've been trying to pay attention to what should I be doing, where should I be going, and a lot of the advice is just sometimes you have to jump. Sometimes you just got to start somewhere. Nobody's going to start as a perfection, an absolutely perfect person. Nobody's going to start as an absolutely perfect podcaster. Nobody's going to start as an absolutely perfect insert new hobby here, whatever term it is you're trying to fill. But if you have something you're interested in, you have something you dream about, if you have something that matters to you that you've been wanting to try, don't wait so long to start. You only get one life. Sometimes you only get one chance to do it. And the only way you are absolutely guaranteed to fail is if you don't start at all, right? If you never even take that risk, of course you're safe, because you never had a chance to show yourself what you're really made of, right? And I think the truth is, if you ever want to see that future you come to life, you can't wait so long to start. And I know why I waited so long. I was in a career where I was told and therefore repeated that story to myself. You have to be extremely careful about your online presence, and you cannot represent certain things. If you have a secondary job that makes over X amount of dollars per year, you have to report it. You're not allowed to collect a certain amount of income above X amount of dollars from external projects. Annually, we had to, as part of our counterintelligence prevention mechanisms in the government, you're required to report on your annual earnings and outside income from the government job. And being a part of a sales team, being a social media influencer, being any kind of outwardly facing thing, you had to be very, very careful about how close or how far apart you were representing yourself from the agency that you worked for. So I didn't start. I had ideas, I had dreams, I had concepts of podcasts that I wanted to create with friends, but the majority of my friends at the time were also fellow government employees, so they couldn't do anything, they couldn't say anything, they couldn't be on the show or the shows that I wanted to talk about. And you kind of heard us talk about it in the episodes with Judah. I had ideas for what I wanted to do with him as well, but he wasn't available. He had his own stuff going on, and he had his own things he needed to deal with, and he had his own focuses, and setting aside time for a podcast was just not a priority for him at that time. And so I never pulled the trigger on it. So in terms of the history of podcasting, I feel like I'm joining it behind in time, but that's really only because I'm only behind, quote unquote, because I'm not, I did have to wait the 10 years. I did not come from a following. I didn't have an online presence. I was pretty strict with what I did and interacted with. So if there's a reason that I feel behind, and I know that. But, when that kind of, don't wait so long to start. I guess it's just, if you think you might like something and you keep thinking about it, I just hope that you will, do as I say, not as I do. I hope that you won't wait so long to start. I hope that you won't wait so long to write up that business plan for that idea. Write up that investment plan. If you want to start painting and you want to get better at, I'm just making stuff up, watercolor and pastels, I hope that you don't wait so long to drive down the street to the Michaels and pick up supplies and go sit in the best lit room in your house and just start sketching. Just put stuff together. If you want to work for a specific industry, but you don't know how to get your foot in the door, I hope you type up your resume, make copies, whatever, and you drop them off with whatever businesses you want to do an internship with. I hope you are shaking hands, kissing babies, rubbing elbows, doing whatever you got to do to network your way into that position until you can find somebody that's going to give you a yes. Just don't wait so long to start. You're never going to know what that idea could become if you don't pull the trigger. So whatever that is for you, whatever it is that's stopping you, I hope one day you finally decide to go after it. All right. Lesson number 2. Dreams that reoccur for a reason. We haven't fully deep dove into my opinion about actual dreams. I'm not super into astrology, tarot cards, human design, personality tests. I've taken them. I have engaged with them in the past. Whether or not I fully agree that they're real, I don't know. That's a different debate for a different day. I do actually have an outline of an episode where I want to get into dreams. and dream interpretation, because I've had way too many signs lately. And I'll explain the history of why I believe that the signs are getting more and more significant. But I do wholeheartedly believe that if you have an idea or a thought or a plan or just a neutral dream that keeps recurring over and over again, there's a reason that it's happening. There's a reason that there's an interest gnawing away at your subconscious repeatedly, that it's constantly slowly knocking on the door until you finally turn around and listen. And it may not be very obvious why, but for somebody like me who's spent most of her life being fairly analytical and being very strategic, logical, rational, the fact that my creative brain was quietly like knocking constantly in the back, like, hey, you actually like dance, you actually like language, you actually like engaging with people, you're good at interviewing, you're good at building rapport, you're a good writer, you're good at connecting emotionally with people, like, hey, this could work for you. Podcasting could be fun. It could be a way to release a lot of those skills, and a good way for you to just grow on your own by interacting with more people in a non-threatening way. Like, a law enforcement interaction is typically on one of their worst days of their life. And it's already a tense and high stress situation. So maybe the reason you keep coming up with all these business ideas and these podcasting ideas is because you were meant to be a producer. You were meant to be a writer or a creative in some way. And I still don't have that fully fleshed out, but I do wholeheartedly believe that when you have a recurring thought or you have a recurring dream, and we're not getting into negative self-hate stuff, that's completely different. I'm strictly talking about when you envision your life or moments when you think you could be really, really happy, and there's a one specific like repeating thing that's coming up in your mind, like, you should try this, you should try this, you should try this. It's recurring for a reason. I don't know what that reason is for you. I'm starting to understand the reasons for me. I'm starting to understand that there are pieces of those dreams that are far more significant than I probably understood in the beginning. And I am looking forward to fleshing those out now and figuring them out now. But I do truly believe that dreams that reoccur for a reason. And if you've got one, look into it. If you're in therapy right now, maybe bring it up to your therapist. See if you could kind of just explain, like, hey, this may not be on topic from what we've been working on this week or this month, but this is something that's been coming up for me. And it's something I keep thinking about, and I don't want to ignore it anymore. I need to figure out why it's happening and what kind of significance is the universe or my intuition or Yahweh or God or Allah. What are they trying to tell me? Because something's coming, something's up with this, and I don't know why I keep thinking about it so much, but I want to dig into it and either set it free or let it come alive the way that it's meant to, or it's supposed to manifest in its own way. Lesson number 3. No one is watching you as much as you watch yourself. Ooh. I know we've heard that a lot, especially Judah brought it up in his episodes about the gym and gym culture, but I think this goes far above and beyond just the gym, but like life in general, like at the office, in school, in competitive sports, in anything where you're put into a situation where you start to do internal self-comparisons with you against everybody else that's around you, or you against anybody else that's in that same room, you against anybody else in the industry you're going after, whatever it is it might be. But when you're uncomfortable, when you're in a situation, I promise you, no one is watching you as much as you watch yourself. No one is judging you as much as you are judging yourself. And the time I have spent beating myself up about this podcast, like, oh, I'm going too slow, or I'm not posting enough, or I'm not publishing enough episodes often enough, or oh my God, I missed a few weeks, everybody's going to stop listening to my show, or people are going to stop following me, people are going to stop engaging with me, or they're going to think I'm a fake, or they're going to think I'm bad at this, or whatever. And the truth is, none of that happened. Like, yeah, when I did take a few weeks off, when I looked at the analytics, like, I did have a few less listeners per week at that point, and that's fair because the way that podcasts work, like, you build you build a following based on the weekly, daily, bi-weekly listenership that you can build. They eventually receive that pattern of, okay, Amanda posts typically at least once a week. When it drops, I'll listen. And when you stop posting, it is entirely possible that a vast amount of your listenership won't engage because they won't see there's no new episode to read or to listen to, not read, and they'll switch to another show. And that's just what they're going to do in the meantime, because if they're a podcaster or podcast listener, they're going to bounce around to the shows that they like. And that's okay. It's supposed to go that way. Not everybody posts on the same day per week and whatever. Anyway, I digress. But the truth is, nobody, and I mean nobody, is watching you as much as you are watching yourself. And the great thing about that is you can get away with more mistakes. You can get away with doing something a little bit more goofy. You can actually be exactly who you are. Because the people that truly love you and get you and resonate with you are going to stay. And the people that don't get it, that end up not liking you, that end up making fun of you, that are watching you for the purpose of judging you, I promise you that they are going to show you exactly who they are through their action. And then you have the power to decide, all right, do I keep this up or do I drop it? Or ignore it or whatever. It's been good for me to learn that I want to keep posting and I want to keep publishing episodes because this is doing something for me. It's helping me. The only person I care about watching all this progress is myself, really. Right now, I'm really damn proud of myself for doing this for almost a full once a week for a full year almost. And it's very hard to stay consistent with a brand new hobby without getting frustrated. It's very hard to do something new and show off your vulnerability to a bunch of people that don't know you and not be deterred, not be scared off, not be frustrated and give up. And I think it's just really crucial to remember that you are your own worst critic sometimes, and sometimes you just got to tell yourself to shut up. Nobody's watching. Nobody cares. Nobody's tearing you down as bad as you tear down yourself. And you got to learn how to not do that. Or start viewing that uncomfortable feeling as like, are they judging me? Doesn't matter because they're not actually watching me, so I can just do what I want. And then if people then come for you, then be like, all right, well, got to make some decisions about what I want to do now. Okay. Lesson number 4. Mistakes make better episodes. Woof. Okay, so hear me out. I don't think that does not mean like sloppy work is a good idea. As Ron Swanson likes to say, never half-ass 2 things, whole-ass 1 thing. And I'm not one of those people that half-asses much of anything in her life. So making mistakes like accidentally not plugging in the microphone correctly or recording with someone and not pressing record, recording an entire episode and not getting the audio from your guest, leaving Dirks in the room and then he gets sick during the middle of the episode and you're on a time crunch because that guest can only talk for X amount of time and now you've wasted 5 to 10 minutes trying to take care of the issue and get back onto topic and get them back on the train of thought that they were on before and bringing the episode back full circle. It is tough, but those are mistakes that you learn from, right? And you get better at recording and you get better at editing and figuring out how to cut certain things out, saying the wrong thing, makes you a better person. You're learning and getting better. Not that you need to go back and listen to episode number 1, but for me, it was really reassuring when I started writing down the notes for this particular episode that mistakes make better episodes. When I went back and listened to episode 1 compared to episode 49, I've already grown so much. I've already improved so much. Now, I could also take into consideration, I could get better at getting a better camera. Instead of just using my laptop camera right now, I could get a better microphone. I have met more people in the industry now who have recommended to me the equipment that they use and the recording software that they use and the editing capabilities that they have. And it's been interesting to take all that in and learn from other people and try and find people that I know are better than me, surrounding myself with people that are genuinely really good at this stuff and humbling myself in front of them, being like, hey, here's an episode. Do you mind just red penning it for me, metaphorically? Run through that thing, make it bleed. Tell me anything you could come up with because I enjoy this. It's one of those it hurts so good hobbies. And I know that every mistake I've made over the last 12 months, the podcast mistakes I've made over the past 12 months have helped make better episodes. So don't be afraid of your mistakes. Mistakes make you a better person. Lesson number 5. Write down everything / everything is content. So one of the good things, I guess, about this process is that it has started to open up my creative mind a bit more. I have rearranged my entire notes app on my phone to be, just random notes that I take throughout the day or throughout the month, and then notes that are specifically dedicated to the podcast. So it has its own whole different section and subfolders within my notes. Episode ideas, caption ideas, manifesting notes, my future plans. I have a business plan that I've been slowly fleshing out, and branding plans and episode outlines are on there, and various things. But I'm writing everything down, and then when I was on the photo shoot for the branding updates and stuff, I have a good friend who's helping me out. She's very, very sweet, very nice. We used to work together for a little bit when I first moved back to Nashville. Extremely talented art director, graphic designer, photographer. And she's been so helpful. And her husband both. He's one of the people that are in the podcasting and recording audio editing industry. And he's been so friendly and so nice. And so shout out to Gabby and her sweet husband, Trevin. And I have been thinking about it, and I would tell her, these are kind of the ideas that are rolling around in my head. And she would say, well, did you record it? Or did you throw your phone up real quick while you were working? Or did you show a behind the scenes moment when you were doing that? And I would say, no, I didn't think about it like that. And she goes, well, people love that. And honestly, content is everywhere. Everything is content. It might seem stupid or mundane in the moment, but save it, record it, have it in your back pocket, and then you'll start to realize oh, this popped off on my Instagram, or this popped off on the TikTok. That seems popular. Let me record that the next time it happens, and then you can start repeating things and just saving stuff. It helps for if you ever do a bloopers reel on your podcast, or if you ever did a laughing reel on your podcast, or if you ever did, behind the scenes things of you sitting there and recording and filming yourself while you record. You can do speed up videos. So I have gotten better about trying to think, I guess, the way a true influencer or true content creator thinks in terms of podcast ideas. I'm constantly writing down episode outlines and topics as they come to mind. But I was not constantly recording my life or my daily activities or anything. And by that means, or daily activities related to the podcast, because it doesn't feel authentic still to me, who I am as a person. I guess I'm still getting used to, this is my life now. You should do this. If you are working on something in your life right now, and it happens to be something that is a creative outlet for you, capture moments in whatever way makes the most sense for your particular art. So for something like mine, where I'm recording a podcast and I'm coming up with the episodes, anytime something moves me, that I see a good, a meme or a post on someone's profile or a reel with a subject matter that really resonates, I will save it for, in a quotes for later, or episode topics for later kind of folder on my social media accounts. And then I'll write down the outlines, or I'll see something out in public and I'll write it down as a concept of what I would be thinking. Or I'll be on my dog walks with Dirks. That's when most of them happen, actually. I'm on a walk with Dirks and I'm dictating to Siri, hey, episode idea, blah, 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 blah. But turns out, I guess, when you're a creative, when you're a professional content creator, literally anything is content to a certain extent. I just need to figure out what is the correct content for the Lost and Found and for the podcast, and see what actually resonates with the Wanderers, what resonates with me, and keep collecting that. But that was definitely a good lesson for this past year, that sometimes when I would come across something and I didn't write it down, I would forget it later. And I would kind of kick myself and be I should have saved that, or should have wrote that down, or should have recorded my idea while I had it. Because when you try and come back and rewrite an idea and you didn't write it down, or you only wrote down half a sentence and you're rereading it, and you're what the fuck was I talking about? I don't remember that. What did that even mean? I don't know, but I missed it. Moments passed. It's over my head. So write it down. any idea that you think you think it might be a good thing for whatever it is that you're trying to create in your life, find a way to record your plan or your idea or your content and come back to it later. Because allegedly everything is content, and you can always find a way to make it relatable to whatever it is you're trying to do and who you're trying to resonate with. So do that. Lesson number 6. Ooh, halfway there. Lesson number 6 is repetition removes doubt. And this is a quote from the queen herself, Danielle Wilson, whom I am a huge admirer of, if you don't know that. I talk about her way too much, but also I talk about her a lot because I think I am going to manifest her as a guest someday. She just launched her own new brand. She is releasing a mindset and wellness app, and I believe people will be able to join very soon. If you go to her Instagram account, and I'm sure her TikTok account, she'll have a link for people to sign up for the newsletter and find out about events that are going on. She is hosting her first launch event the first weekend in November in Chicago. I will not be able to attend, so Danielle, if you ever hear this, I'm sorry I missed your event, but I'm so proud of you. And I'm sure you killed it. I'm sure it's going to be a phenomenal weekend. But I have prior engagements with our good friend Stevie. So I will be visiting Stevie in Tampa the weekend of Danielle's launch. But repetition removes doubt. And that is something that Danielle Wilson's been talking about, at least lately, in the weeks leading up to her new brand launch. And she posted recently about things to do if you're feeling stuck, and I will link that to the description box of the show notes, or the description box, or the show notes of this episode if you want to go back and read her Instagram post about that and go through her prompts, her writing prompts to help you understand and answer questions about what it is you are feeling lost about. But she did a couple videos, reels recently that basically repeated the words repetition removes doubt. So if you are dealing with imposter syndrome, or you're worried about your progress, or you're not seeing yourself move forward as well as you thought you would, or as quickly as you thought you would, the truth is that you have to keep showing up. Repetition removes doubt. If you do something over and over again, you will, in theory, eventually get really good at it. You'll get better the more you practice, the more you try, the more experience, the more exposure you get. Things get easier the more you learn about a particular skill set or tool or software, and that's absolutely true. I have eventually gotten better at editing with this Riverside software. I have eventually gotten better at my interview questions. I have eventually not felt as nervous anytime I call a new guest. Like, I'm still nervous as hell, but like, I'm not the internal voice before I turn on the record button with the guests is not, you shouldn't be here, like you're an imposter, you're not a real interviewer, you're not a reporter, you're not a journalist, like you have no significant following, why would this person want to talk to you, like you've not had enough life experience, you don't bring anything interesting to the table for them to discuss with you, like really clearly not true things. I mean, obviously I'm not a journalist, like not by trade, but whatever. But that voice is not as loud, and it's not saying as much. Like, it doesn't get to say as many things as I just listed off there. They don't say that. That internal voice is not there anymore. Like, it's, if it is, it's a pipsqueak of a voice. And I still get nervous just because I care, but I'm not so obliterated by my emotions trying to get something done with this particular podcast, because this will now be my 50th episode. This is my 50th time ish, I think. I'll be honest, I haven't been tracking all the numbers, but 50-ish time that I have gone public on the internet about my feelings, or about something I've been dealing with, or about my journey. And the answers are still far away. I haven't solved all my problems, but the nerves and the anxiety and the fear of being vulnerable is getting smaller and smaller. It's less intimidating to do this and less worrisome about it. So remember that. Repetition removes doubt. Keep showing up for yourself. Keep doing the basics. Keep doing those compound movements. Keep doing the motion that's going to reinforce your skill set. And after a while, you won't even notice it anymore because you'll be that good at it. So repetition removes doubt. Lesson number 7. Vision boards work. I don't think I've really done vision boards before this podcast, or not in a serious manner. Like Max and I actually sat down and made the boards together and then recorded and then talked about them. Like it was a long day, but it felt real to me. I think it would be great to get him back on the show maybe later in November and see if anything on his vision board did come to life or if something out of it was manifested in some kind of way. I think that would be cool. But for me, the real thing that came out of that was the photos of Danielle Wilson. I did get to meet her when she came to Nashville. I did get to write her like just a sweet like thank you note and give it to her. That was real. If you're willing to say it over and over again, you practice it over and over again, you're looking at it every day. Like that vision board has been my cell phone background for a year now. So every day that I open my phone, every minute that I'm looking at my phone, subconsciously I am re-looking at that vision board. Even if that's not the purpose of what I'm looking for on my phone at the time, touching it and picking it up and looking at it every day, I'm looking at it again. I have the nights where I would write in my journal what future Amanda has. Amanda has a house. Amanda has this item in her life. Amanda has XYZ type relationship. Amanda is happy, runs her podcast production company. She is a speaker at these types of places. Like whatever it is that I'm putting forward, like I'm not only looking at it every day, I'm writing it down every day. I'm saying it out loud. Every time I get on this microphone and I speak my truth to power, I'm finding a way to take it in audio, take it in visually, take it in manually, over and over and over again. And I think, again, repetition removes doubt, but you are connected to forces that are bigger than yourself, whether or not you acknowledge them or not. And I think they listen. The same way that your body listens to your negative self-talk, the universe, these forces, they listen when you talk, when you dream, when you think, when you pray, when you write things down. Vision boards work. Lesson number 8, your intuition is far more powerful than you will ever know. I wrote this down because I think I needed to learn how to listen to myself again, how to believe that I do know what's best for me. I do know what's best for my future, and I need to trust my gut or my intuitive feeling, my intuitive thoughts when they are speaking to me. Because when you have the hindsight moments and you're sitting back and you're re-looking at what red flags came up for you, whether they were physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and they were there, and you can look back and be in those moments like, oh, I remember how I was feeling in that moment, and that was it. That was the sign that was trying to talk to me, and I just didn't receive it, or I didn't know how to receive it. After talking to Ash Sabolka in our previous episode, I'll also link that in the description notes so you can go back and listen to her. She has also launched a new program, so if you're interested in any of her new trainings and offerings and coaching opportunities, please take her up on that. If I had the money, I would take her up on it in a heartbeat. I wholeheartedly believe in her and what she offers the world, and truly, if I could take advantage of it, I really would. But I digress. Your intuition is far more powerful than you will ever know. And I think anyone at any age deserves the chance to believe in themselves and trust themselves. If they get a specific feeling about what it is they want to do or a decision that they want to make and they need some clarity on a problem, I think oftentimes you know what it is you want to do, what you need to do, but for whatever reason, we may not give ourselves permission to follow through. And maybe that's because we're trying to meet other people's expectations, or we're trying to meet other people's, society's plans for us, or perceived expectations of what we should be, who we should be, the type of person we're supposed to represent, the type of person we're supposed to live up to. And when you go against that norm, it's scary, because you worry you're going to get crucified, or you're going to be outcasted, or people are going to stop following you, or they're going to stop investing in you or believing in you. And I have learned that when you stop listening to your intuition, you chip away at who you are. You chip away at what is meant for you. You get further and further off your path. Even if it's little by little, the further off your path you get, the scarier it feels when you wake up and you finally realize that you have no idea where you are. You've got no idea who you are anymore. You're living a life, but you're disassociated. And that's so scary. So your intuition is far more powerful than you will ever know. And if you can figure out a way to harness that, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I have fully regained my intuition properly, that I'm actively engaging it the correct way every day, because that is not true. Like, it is something that I've realized over this last year, that by losing myself, I lost my ability to listen to it, and I need to get back to that somehow, because I think listening to it is going to help me be brave and pursue a potential career in podcasting or content like this, and finding a way to make this business plan that I've been writing up come to fruition. So I need to learn how to listen to that, because if it is far more powerful than I will ever imagine or I will ever know, just imagine what it would be like to even get half of it back. That's 3/4 of it back. Like 90% of it back. Like how unstoppable I could really be if I was listening to what it is that I needed to do, the decisions I needed to make, and then be brave enough to make them, be bold enough to go in a direction that I've never gone in before, to take a risk, to take a chance, to listen to that reoccurring dream, So find a way to listen to it again and really think about what it's telling you. Lesson number 9. Rest is not a waste. So in the earlier lessons, when I kind of mentioned that I was beating myself up about missing a few weeks, I got to get over that, because anybody in any industry that's really good at what they do, they still take rest, particularly like we talked about last week when we were talking about fitness. Recovery and recuperation are just as important to your growth as the actual exercises themselves. And I think that applies to anyone that's trying to be the best in their sport, the best in their industry, the best in their businesses, etc. If you're not taking care of your physical, mental, emotional well-being, and you're not taking rest when you need to rest, believing in that hustle culture, in that no days off culture, in that no pain, no gain type culture, it's not sustainable. It's not realistic. Let's be real. You're gonna age. You're gonna get older. You're gonna have to manipulate your lifestyle to make sure that you have the longevity to survive and be here for a while and do the things that you want to do. If you want to be physically fit and be physically active, you have to start taking those steps to prepare your body and take care of yourself, not only at the macro level, but also the micro level. And I think that goes for anybody who's starting out their own business in their new industry. Resting is not a waste. And for me, that was manifested when I did have to take time off in between episodes. I was traveling for weddings or friends' baby showers or birthdays or family vacations, whatever, doing whatever it is that I needed to do. It was actually beneficial, because the time away from the microphone, the time away from the podcast, I could write and gather more content. I could write more episodes. I could actually get genuine sleep and then wake up the next day with brand new ideas. And it kind of reminds me of that episode from Parks and Recreation when Leslie Knope was successful with the Harvest Festival, and then Chris and Ben, told her, hey, we can't wait to hear your next idea for the town and what you're going to do to help generate more money and get us out of debt and etc. And Leslie freaks out because she is put on the spot, and she can't come up with a great idea, and she's having a really hard time. And usually she is always the person with ideas. She's always the one with solutions. And then Ron Swanson tricks her and traps her in a room full of cats and tells her she has to go to sleep. And until you go to sleep, you're not going to have a good idea. And you're not going to be useful to anybody on the team. You need real rest. You've been awake for 72 hours straight. You can't even think anymore. And so she takes a nap, and I think she wakes up the next day with cat hair all over her, and her hair's all a mess. And she wakes up and walks in the room. She's like, it was the best 5 hours of sleep I've ever had. It's a record, 5 hours of sleep. But when she wakes up, she has a whole brand new binder of ideas, and they're all amazing ideas. And so I think, anyway, for anybody that's not seen that, it's a great show. I promise. It's hilarious. And if you don't know Leslie Knope, you need to go and look that up, because it's one of the greatest TV characters of all time. But rest is helpful and it's necessary. And I'm learning that as a creative, that lifestyle is intense, and I don't even do this full time. And trying to come up with constant ideas is not feasible when you're putting so much pressure on yourself, and when my brain is split. I do have a full-time job somewhere else. I also have my family that I help take care of. I have Dirks. I have my friends. I still have a life, and resting is not a waste of time. If I need the day off, fine. So I don't beat myself up about that anymore. I don't get angry when I'm not on track. Because again, this is my part-time thing. This is my hobby. This is something I find to be fun. And if I want to keep it fun, I need to take the time when I need to take the time. Not everybody's meant to be a complete work robot 24/7. It's not truly sustainable for your overall health. So it's okay. Rest is not a waste. I definitely think there's a difference between sheer laziness and resting, taking a rest day when you need to, but I don't believe genuine rest is a waste. Number 10, just because your reality doesn't match your idols does not mean your reality isn't worthwhile. I wrote this down because this gets back to my part about comparing myself to other people, being nervous about not being as far along with this after doing it for a year. But the truth is, my reality is different. I have a different 24 hours compared to the people that I admire. So, like, I have a full list of people that I follow on the Podcast for Lost social media account, but the vast majority of those people that I do follow that are further along in the industry, that have a bigger name, a bigger following, different content ideas, different content strategies, different topics that they cover compared to mine on my podcast. I don't follow people that all talk about self-loss. Like, I follow people that talk about politics and history, women's rights, women's studies, American history, civics, various STEM businesses, female entrepreneurship, sometimes content creators that are selling content creation like trainings sometimes to try and learn like industry standards, what I can do on these platforms, how I can best reach the appropriate audience that would resonate with whatever it is I'm talking about. So trying to get better at the intricacies of the industry in and of itself, but then also trying to learn just about other topics that I don't always learn on my own, and bite-sized versions of that can come from Instagram and TikTok and stuff. So I needed to learn that just because these hugely popular podcasts are obviously bigger and more popular, but the reality is that they are full-time people that get to do this. They are living their dream already because they've been working for it for longer than I have, and so their success is rightfully so. They've put in the hours and the time and the work and the effort, and their reality doesn't match my reality. And there are specific reasons why. And so trying to play the comparison game is never going to help you. But also, just because my reality right now doesn't match my idol's reality or people that I admire's reality doesn't mean that what I want for my future isn't worthwhile. That does not mean that my amateur level experience or my amateur level production right now is a waste of time. It doesn't mean that I'm totally shitty and like this is good, never going to go anywhere. I don't know, that's not true. But you don't have the same I've talked about this in other episodes, but you don't have the same 24 hours as somebody else. So trying to compare yourself to people that have a completely different lifestyle, completely different business model, completely different products that they sell, like you're going apples to oranges there, and I don't really know if that's ever going to help you feel better about yourself or give you the lessons learned that you're actually seeking. So I would be cautious to anyone that is trying to pursue a dream and you start to think that what you're doing isn't worth it anymore, because when you look at the people who you want to become, you think that they're just so much further along in the race. They may be further along for different reasons than what you realize, I guess, if that makes any sense. And the comparison's not going to help. But it also does not mean that what you're doing is not worthwhile. If it brings you joy and it makes you happy to be a business owner, to be the artist, to be the singer, to be the songwriter, to be the podcaster, to be the content creator, to be a fitness model or personal trainer, whatever it is, just because your reality doesn't match your idol or who you admire does not mean that your reality isn't worthwhile. You're going to get where you want to be someday, but you got to keep showing up. You got to keep trying to turn your reality into the dream that you want it to be. It'll get there. If it's worthwhile to you right now, then it will be worthwhile later as well. So don't get hung up on the fact that it just doesn't look like what other people's lives look like, because the truth is, behind closed doors, you may not want that person's life. So I would not wish, if I were you, I would not wish away what you have to trade for someone else. Keep working on making what you have now into what you want it to become. So do that. Lesson number 11. Your life falls into place when you do more fun things. I think I mostly needed that lesson this year because I tend to consider myself a rather serious person. I am relatively stoic or reserved when I first meet people. Like, it takes me a second to kind of open up and vibe who they are and whether or not it's worth being fully myself in front of you at first. And a lot of that probably came from some of the law enforcement training, just that you don't need to give away so much so quickly, especially if you don't fully understand who's sitting across the table from you, because it could be dangerous depending on what you give away and what you don't. So you're constantly reminded to be mindful of what you're doing and what you're saying and how you choose to approach certain people and, for lack of a better term, manipulate the situation to get what it is that you want. I needed to give myself permission this year to do more fun things, go to more football games, because I miss going to Ole Miss as often as I used to when I lived closer. I have gone to more concerts. I have enjoyed more restaurants in the city. I have gone to more bars by myself to hang out and watch football games. I have tried to be more friendly and make more friends in my book club and reach out to other girls and try and make new friends through their friends. I like I said earlier in this episode, I met a complete stranger and a friend that was in my social network that I didn't really realize we were actually kind of rotating around each other for the last few years. We didn't know, right? They just didn't put two and two together, because I guess our interactions in our universes just didn't quite collide yet until our mutual relationships were like, oh, hey, you guys would totally get along, like talk to each other. And it turns out they were right. So I think being more open to new experiences helps your life fall into place, because as you try these things or you go out and quote unquote have fun, do whatever it is that you've been wanting to try, or things that seemed fun to you that you haven't tried before, just to kind of see how it goes, it forces you to become a little more relaxed and a little more open to receiving what's going on in the world. And when you do that, I think it gives you more autonomy and empowerment, because then you can say, oh, I do like that, I want to do it again, or oh, I did not like that, I do not want to do that again. And it just gives you agency over your life. And it gives you more to talk about. It gives you more life experience, so you can build upon that to go in whatever direction it is you're supposed to be going in while you're figuring yourself out. If you're dating, you are going out more, ideally, right? You're meeting more people, you're going out more, you're getting a more thorough and more precise list of, this is what I do want, this is what I do not want. And when you have those lists and you refine them time after time after time, I feel like you are getting closer to the person that's meant for you, or you are getting closer to the life that you were meant to be a part of, that you were meant to build for yourself. You are getting closer and closer to, I don't want to say reaching your potential, but you're getting closer and closer to, I guess, your purpose, right? You're trying more things, you're experimenting, you're growing and learning and making mistakes and realizing what you like and what you don't like. I think it's just that simple. Your life will fall into place when you do more fun things. If you're out there enjoying yourself and learning about yourself, people will recognize that. They'll see the confidence. They'll see somebody who's in their element, just having a good time, and that becomes attractive in business, in personal, in emotional opportunity. So go for it. And finally, lesson number 12. When people show you who they are, believe them. I think I've had this lesson written down for multiple years on end. And that's still a lesson that I think I'm still trying to learn clearly, because I wrote it down again. When people show you who they are, believe them. Oh man, I wrote this down because of dating this year being a dumpster fire, but this can apply to anything. When people show you who they are, believe them. This can be for friendships, your family, your business relationships, your work relationships. Anytime someone comes in or out of your life, you make the determination of, how do they treat me? How am I going to treat them? Do they stay in my life? Do they go? Is this a passing moment or a sustainable, repeatable moment? You make that determination. And so hopefully the lesson becomes, as you do this more often and you're interacting with people while you're trying to find your purpose and while you're trying to find meaning out of your life, I'll say, I take it more seriously now, who I let stay in my life and who I'm willing to give my time to. Because time has now I've become acutely aware that time is my most precious, valuable, my most precious asset, because I only get one life. I only get one chance to figure this out. I only get not it, but like theoretically, unless reincarnation is real or multiple universes actually exist, I only get one opportunity to live this life. And at 33 years old, I've already had my first miniature existential crisis and metaphorically burned my career down and started over. And now I'm building things up from the ashes and trying to figure out what pieces still can work, what pieces have to stay behind, and what goes together now. What am I missing? What do I need to buy to replace what's missing, etc. And one of the key things in that is finding partners, and whether that's a business partner or a relationship partner, anyone that I add into my life from here on out needs to be someone that I truly respect and I value their time as much as they value mine. And there's somebody that actually has their own ambition and wants to grow in parallel, and it's someone that shows me who they are. And if I truly value integrity as much as I say that I do, I have to keep that at the forefront of my mind when I'm interacting with new people. And I only want to keep people around me that are there to lift me up, that are there to bring benefits to my life, not detract from my life, not throw me off the path that I'm trying to pursue right now, not distract me with their insecurities or their problems or their lack of willingness to take things head on their own, and they want to use my emotional intelligence as a crutch. I can't do that anymore. It's not worth it, especially if people are willing to tell you exactly who they are in the very beginning. Like, I want this is what I'm looking for, this is my boundary, or this is as far as I can go. If you want to do it, great. And if you don't want to do that, then also okay. And when somebody tells you that to your face, straight up, believe them. It is not your job to convince somebody else why your idea is better or why you're a good choice or why they should invest in you. Like, sometimes a no, or sometimes a maybe, or sometimes an indifference attitude is the answer. Like, that's it. And so it's wasting your time thinking, oh, I'm not worth it, or I'll convince them that I can change their mind, or I'll convince them that, this is a good idea, I'm a great idea, blah, blah, blah. They're not your person, man. They're not your business partner. They're not your right investor. They're not your right friend, whatever it is. You bring so much and so much value and worth to the table that as soon as somebody shows you who they are, you believe them, you pack up your stuff and you walk away from that table. And don't feel bad about walking away. Like, they made the decision that's right for them in that moment by telling you who they are, or showing you who they are, really. And then you decide from there what it is that you're going to do with that information. So don't feel bad about needing to be calculating or thorough with your decisions about what you keep in your life and what you drop. If you outgrow something, it happens. If you need to go in a different direction and they cannot go with you because they need to go in their own direction, it's okay. It happens. I'm not saying that it won't be painful to see and to accept someone for who they are when they show you who they are. I'm not saying that that'll ever be easy. I think most of the time it's probably difficult to watch. It probably hurts. It might break your heart. And there's nothing you can do about that. As much as you try and avoid emotion and avoid pain and avoid heartbreak, it will find a way to come at you still. As much as you try and avoid a mistake and like try and do everything super perfect, like, you're gonna mess up sometimes. Other humans are fallible. They will mess up sometimes. So holding to a really rigid set of values or a really rigid set of rules or a really rigid thing, an expectation, is not going to be what truly satisfies you, I don't think. The only thing that you can really guarantee in this life is that if somebody shows you who they are, believe them. If they turn around and they make changes for their life, believe them. But don't feel bad about walking away from a situation if somebody shows you who they are and you decide that that's not what you want. It's okay. It really is. Because you deserve to be happy with the right partnership, the right business, the right friend, the right romantic partner in your life just as much as they do. So just because you're not the right fit doesn't mean you're not a worthy fit or a worthwhile or better fit for the right person somewhere else. But for the love of God, when people show you who they are, believe them. Don't try and convince them of something else. Don't try and change them into something else. Accepting yourself and working on yourself is, I think, the greatest investment you can make. And if someone watches that and realizes that they want that too, and they're willing to put in the work to do that for themselves, then awesome. All right, that's it. That's all I got. That is the 12 lessons in the last 12 months. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. I definitely did. It felt good to kind of reminisce a bit about lessons that I've learned over the last 12 months and things that I've been thinking about and working through, and hopefully have gotten better at, or at least gotten better at acknowledging when I'm messing those up. So it's all good. But man, I gotta go. I gotta go eat dinner. I'm getting a little bit delirious here. But love you, mean it. I am so grateful for you. Thank you for being here for the last year. Thank you for supporting me, listening to the show, liking, subscribing, reviewing, sharing with your friends, sharing with your family, sharing on your social media. It means the absolute world to me if you post about the show and tag me. Let me know what you loved about the show, what you would like to see in the future, any guests that you think would be a good guest for the show, anybody that you think I could learn something from. Please send them my way. I would be more than happy to reach out to them. I am working on, as we've talked about in the past, some stuff behind the scenes to just help elevate the show and the branding. And hopefully in 2025, I can set myself up for a bit more success. We've got a lot coming up in the next few months, but I'm going to do everything I can to just keep going after it. Like I said in these lessons, I'm not doing it perfectly. I'm making so many mistakes as I'm going through this, but I wholeheartedly believe if you have a specific vision for yourself and for your life, you deserve it. You are worth taking the risk on it. And so I'm going to keep trying to do that. I'm going to keep trying to figure out a way to make that happen for myself because I deserve it and I'm worth it. And fuck it, I think it would be fun. I think it would be really, really fun and a great way for me to share my gifts with the world, whatever those might be. But we'll figure it out. So don't forget to like, subscribe, review, share with your friends, share with your loved one, aunties, nieces, nephews, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, misters, ladies, anybody you think that would like this show, anybody you think that could get a laugh out of my trials and tribulations, anyone that you think could relate to feeling lost and going through major life transitions, please share. Please, please, please. I want to help and reach as many people as possible, so I appreciate every single one of you. All of the Wanderers are the best, and I'm so grateful for the community that we have here, and I appreciate your support always. And that's all I got for you. So until next time, remember, Wanderers are always welcome.